I woke up that Thursday morning in Phoenix to the sound of heavy machinery, a kind of rumbling that you can feel in your ribs before you even process what it means. I shuffled outside, still half asleep, clutching my coffee like a life raft, only to find three guys in hard hats tearing massive holes in my front yard, right next to my Japanese maple, the tree I'd planted the week my daughter was born. 7 years in the desert sun, just starting to look like it belonged there, like it might actually make it. I'm telling you, nothing snaps you awake faster than watching someone's backhoe chew up your property. "Hey!" I yelled, jogging down the driveway, almost spilling coffee down my robe. "What the hell are you doing to my yard?" The guy running the excavator just killed the engine, hopped out and started unfolding some paperwork, not even looking all that surprised. "You?" "Adam O'Brien," he asked. I said, "Yeah," kind of wishing I'd said no. "We're here to install the new community mailbox cluster. You should have gotten notice from your HOA about 2 weeks ago." Just like that, I felt the bottom drop out of my morning. This is my property, my lawn, my tree. Who just shows up and starts digging? "You can't do this," I said. But the foreman just shrugged, waved the papers at me. "Take it up with your HOA, buddy. We're just following orders. Says right here, install mailbox. 2847 Cigarro Drive, board approval." He handed me the paperwork, and there was my address, right at the top. Board approval from Brenda Jennings, HOA president. Meeting notes from a meeting I sure as hell never heard about. "You need to stop now," I told him, voice shaking. "I never signed off on any of this." He shook his head like he'd heard it all before. "Sir, we've got a contract. If we stop, you're paying for the delay. HOA has easement rights. You signed for that when you bought the place." I wanted to throw my mug, honestly I did. But instead I stomped back inside, dug out my HOA docs from the filing cabinet and started reading. 20 minutes later, eyes bleary from legal jargon, I finally found the magic words. Yes, the HOA had rights to install stuff for community benefit, but they were supposed to give me 30 days notice and a right to appeal. I hadn't gotten squat. By the time I got dressed and back outside, the guys had already poured concrete for the mailbox. My lawn ruined, my tree roots mangled. I took pictures of everything. Grassroots, truck workers, even the company name on the door. Then I got in my car and drove straight to Brenda Jennings' house. Everybody in Sunset Ridge knew where Brenda lived, 2-story Mediterranean palace on the corner, fountain, decorative rocks, the works. When she finally opened the door, she looked like every HOA president you've ever imagined, yoga pants, short blonde hair that didn't move, phone glued to her hand. "Adam," she said, fake sweet as Splenda. "What brings you by?" I didn't bother with pleasantries. "You want to explain why there's a construction crew tearing up my yard?" She blinked at me like I was a slow child. The mailbox cluster was approved months ago. Notices went out to all affected homeowners. I told her I never got anything. She sighed, all passive-aggressive. "That's a postal issue, not ours." Anyway, the decision's made. The old mailboxes were vandalized last month. USPS wants everything in one place now for security. Your property's central, and the easement clause allows it. "Easement clause also requires 30 days notice and an appeal," I said. She got tight-lipped. "Notices were sent." "Show me proof," I said. "Certified mail receipt." "I don't have to show you anything, Adam. The board voted the decision's final." She tried to close the door on me. "This isn't over, Brenda," I said. But she was already gone. I sat in my car engine, running, white-knuckling the steering wheel, thinking about lawyers I couldn't afford and county officials who'd take months to care. And then call it spite, call it inspiration. The wildest idea just popped into my head as I drove past the community park. Brenda wants to use easement rights to dump her problems on my property. Fine. Maybe two can play at that game. I called my friend Derek, who runs a landscaping business. "You want to do what?" He laughed. "Move the mailbox cluster to Brenda's yard?" "That's nuts." "Not if they didn't give proper notice," I argued. "The easement isn't valid. I'm just relocating community property to a better spot. Brenda's house is even more central." He agreed to help $3,000, and I had to put in writing that I'd take the fall for any legal blowback. We set it for Sunday, 2 a.m. All day Saturday, I did reconnaissance drive-bys of Brenda's house, noting streetlights, neighbor windows, even the slope of her lawn. I hit the county records office, too. The official certified mail log. Out of 17 notices, my address wasn't even listed. Perfect. Sunday, 2:15 a.m. Derek rolled up in a flatbed, Miguel his cousin along for the ride. It felt like a heist. The mailbox cluster wasn't fully anchored yet, just bolted to the concrete. 20 minutes with the excavator and some chain and we had it free. Loading it onto the flatbed was the hard part. Thing weighed nearly 800 pounds. By 3 a.m. we were rolling through empty Phoenix streets with a mailbox cluster in the back. Brenda's place was lit up by garden lights and the soft burble of a fountain. We weren't sneaky, just fast. The bare patch by her driveway was perfect. Derek dug the hole. Miguel and I mixed the quick-set concrete. I was still smoothing the last of it when Brenda stormed out in her bathrobe, hair in curlers, face covered in goop. "What are you doing?" she screamed. "Installing the mailbox cluster per HOA rules. Your property's central." "Brenda, just like you said." She sputtered. "This is my yard. So was mine 3 days ago." I pointed to the clause about easement rights. "Board approved. You stop us, we'll charge you for the delay." It was almost fun, quoting her back to herself. She threatened to call the police. "Great," I said, "I'll wait." Derek finished up, loaded the excavator, and we left Brenda gaping at her new mailbox concrete hardening around the base. 10 minutes later, Phoenix PD showed up, 2 cruisers' lights, but no sirens. Brenda was in full meltdown, yelling about trespassing, criminal damage, the whole shebang. The younger officer listened to her, then to me. I showed him the HOA documents, the certified mail log, my photos of the mess in my yard. He went through everything, flashlight in hand, slow and careful. "So let me get this straight," he said. "They put this on your property without notice, so you moved it here." "Exactly." He looked at Brenda. "This is a civil issue. Take it up with the board or the courts." She wasn't happy. I'd never seen anyone go from red-faced rage to stone-cold hate so fast. The next few days were a blur of emails and phone calls, threats from Brenda, legal warnings from the HOA's pet attorney, even a certified letter threatening $500 a day fines unless I removed the mailbox from her property. I forwarded everything to my HOA insanity folder and got back to work. I'm a software engineer, but that week I was basically a full-time amateur paralegal. Wednesday night, emergency HOA board meeting room packed. More people than I'd ever seen at a meeting, all talking, buzzing, alive with drama. Brenda started with her usual power trip. "We're here to address Adam O'Brien's illegal actions." I stood up, pointed out that the board had approved the mailbox, just not the location, showed my documents, asked about the missing notice. Brenda stammered, blamed the post office, then the board, then me. But the room wasn't buying it. People started shouting their own stories, bogus fines, threats, Brenda's heavy-handed tactics. The crowd turned. A board member named Richard called for a special election. People lined up to sign the petition. Within minutes, Brenda's control evaporated. But she didn't go quietly. The next morning, I found all 4 tires on my car slashed. Later that day, I got reported to code enforcement for running a business out of my house. Total nonsense. Then came a rapid-fire string of bogus HOA violations, grass too long, garbage cans, visible mailbox, not the right shade of black, each with a fine. I documented everything, filed a formal complaint, and Richard, the acting board president, took it seriously. They suspended Brenda pending investigation. Still, it got ugly, a brick through my window, threatening notes, even a late-night attempt at spray-painting "traitor" across my house. My new security cameras caught it all, caught Brenda in the act. This time the police pressed charges. Court day. Judge Alvarez, tough, no nonsense. Brenda's lawyer blamed stress, tried to pin everything on community discord. The judge saw right through it. Brenda got 2 years probation, was barred from any HOA position, had to pay restitution, and stay far away from me and my property. The board turned over. Richard became president. Neighbors I actually took the other seats. They moved the mailbox cluster to the park, repaired my lawn, planted a bigger maple, and started actually listening to people at meetings. They reviewed all the old fines, refunded nearly $100,000 to folks who'd been bullied by Brenda and her crew. The neighborhood changed. Real community started to grow. A 4th of July barbecue, Sunday morning coffees with Tom, my neighbor who'd stood by me through all of it. Even my daughter, now in college, came home, laughed at the mailbox story, and helped me plant new flowers under the maple. People stopped me on walks to thank me, sometimes bringing cookies or just sharing their own horror stories. What did I learn? Standing up to petty tyrants isn't easy. They count on people being too tired, too scared, or too beaten down to fight back. But sometimes all it takes is one person willing to push document everything and refuse to be bullied. Was it risky? Sure. Would I do it again? In a heartbeat. Because real power, the kind that changes neighborhoods, comes from standing together, refusing to be silent when someone else tries to run your life. My yard looks great now, just grass, flowers, and the Japanese maple all right where they belong. The mailbox sits in the park, no drama, no damage. Every time I walk by, I smile. Not because I won, but because I didn't let someone else decide what winning was supposed to mean for me. So let me ask you, if someone tried to bulldoze your peace of mind, would you stand up or would you let them? Would you relocate their power right back to their front door, or just pay the fine and move on? Drop your thoughts below, share your own stories, because trust me, somewhere out there, there's another Brenda just waiting for nobody to fight back. And sometimes one stubborn neighbor is all it takes to change everything.